Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hi. I hope you're well, secure. We're going to do the second half of the six, terminologies of love, ending with romantic love, which is probably what most of you are interested in, but I think all of this, in a way, is romantic. We're going to start with impermanence of love, or the impermanence of all things, right? But love, though we don't initially, I don't know, it depends on your culture, I suppose, but love it's a very charismatic term without tremendous specificity. Always needs an adjective to accompany it, to sort of direct the, shall I say, the manifestation of love or the aspect of love. So impermanence of love, had to talk about that, because if you don't understand this, and as I go through these, I think you'll see more and more why romantic love is the last of the terms I'm going through. Because if you don't understand these other aspects of love, then I don't think you have as clear an understanding of what this romantic completion, attachment thing that we think of as love really means, what it really is. Just as being born, quote unquote, right, is really an instantiation of a lot of energies that want nothing more than to simply tathagata. What do I mean by that? Well, tathagata is that aspect of potential. It's not all of potentials, but potential, think about this. Potential, whatever you conceive of as potential, another one of those words that is pregnant with meaning, but not very specific at all, contains within it all possibility, yeah? But certainly all possibility isn't the totality of manifestations, or the other way around, or is it? Is everything in the cosmos, including what we call empty, or dark energy, or dark matter, or whatever names you want to associate with what it is we don't seem to be able to see, it's stuff. Is that potential too? Is that the expression of a potential? Well, of course it is. Because there's nothing that potential is not. Therefore, everything is of primarily, firstly, potential. In fact, you could say that what we call quiescent energy is potential. So when energy takes forms, whether those forms become gravity, another one of those words, or energy into light, strong nuclear, weak nuclear, protons, quarks, electrons, so on and so forth. The language of quantum tries to embrace those things as potential, but only from the side of expression, right? They express themselves in and out of being, but really That's just potential and formations. And this is why I love quantum mechanics and quantum physics and quantum theory, because it's a precise language trying to apply language to formations. What we in Buddhism identify as the beginnings of karma, from quiescence, potential, through quantum, through formation, into boom, matter, or form, name and form, because we can't have form without trying to name it, ergo quantum, yes? Same thing with love. Now you understand particles, quote unquote, as bundles of energy in certain form. But all forms are form. Love is like that. Follow? So if you understand these different aspects of love, then when you find or you want to define what you feel or are experiencing as romantic love, you do so with the knowledge of what you're really saying. And I think understanding that makes you much wiser. The inevitable realization that the tendencies and conditions of a state, quote unquote, of love remains only as a moment-to-moment invention of the Saha mind, and only sustainable as an abstract condition of enlightenment. Should I say that again? Let me take it apart a little bit. The realization that the tendencies and conditions of a state of love, in other words, the energies and amalgams and attachments and desires and the whole matrix of karma, is what love is. And further, because we understand that it's tendencies and conditions, and that we also must understand that all of that, being Buddhists, we understand that everything only exists, quote unquote, to the mind as a moment-to-moment invention of that mind. Right? The mind experiences this flow of energy with these tendencies and conditions from moment to moment and labels it love. We are the momentum of expressions of potential, a reminder. Energy moving and reacting in innumerable formations and influences in electromagnetic states, stable, unstable, or simply moving on. These energies are the foundations of matter, molecules, chemistry, biology, and consciousness. Now, that first paragraph contains a tremendous amount. A tremendous amount of what we've been studying. Certainly what I've been studying for over 45 years. So you may have to spend some time with that first paragraph and really to understand it. Or simply read through it and then go back and reread it with more and more insight, yes? Let's move on. All of this, the process of energy transmuting into forms, is the process of karma. Karma is the resulting formations from this process. pregnant with the potential energies that have amalgamated into a particular form and its further attractions and combinations in every moment to moment of change and formations. The of is missing there. Life. The mind of the sentient being has records of this in the fabric of its formations. And the consciousnesses of the mind act upon this record in each moment of life. This massive momentum of energies mutating over time. Okay? This karma, or the engine of life, is constantly re-expressing its formation as well as absorbing influences from the consciousnesses of observation. Right? Sight, sound, taste, smell, oral, all of this constantly influencing the experience of the moment-to-moment instantiation of life. All of that gets gathered together in the decision, in the consciousness of our minds, that we are experiencing love. The mind is in constant momentum of change and reinstantiation of the parameters of its formation. Just a circular statement, yes? Because our sensations and perceptions are formed in discrete moments, one after another, the cycle of birth and death, right? Birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death. Moment to moment, moment to moment to moment. All sensations are in existence, quote unquote, in only one discrete moment at a time. Whether or not a particular sensation continues to be present or, quote, felt, is a direct function of the persistence of the influences and reformations of energies collected and imposed upon those formations, karma, to be maintained or modified or terminated. Love, then, is like all things, quote unquote, impermanent. Love is a condition of being created from moment to moment in the service of a conscious entity. So the fact that we experience love, that we think of love as a condition, is really due to its constant reinvestment and re-experience in moment to moment. Think of the time when you're with your object of love and when you're without that object of love. They feel quite different. The exception to this understanding is the love, quote unquote, we ascribe to Buddhahood, which is what we were talking about in part 1, yes? In truth, we should understand that this use of the word love should always be replaced with the word compassion. To clarify, we must understand that the Buddha state, the Buddha mind, and Buddhahood are all names or labels we give to the expression of the Tathagata field potential as manifested in the physical or saha realms within the sentient mind. Or even more specifically, and for those of you who may not be familiar with saha, because I use it quite a lot, there's an entry on the internet that says that the saha or saha world in Mahayana Buddhism refers to the mundane world, essentially the sum of existences that is other than nirvana, in other words, samsara. But samsara is an experience of the mind, whereas saha is the actual thing. It is the entirety of conditioned phenomena, also referred to as the Threefold. I always have trouble with that word. We've talked about this before now, remember? The trichiliocosm. As a term, its usage is comparable to the earth or the entire cosmos as the place where all living beings are subject to the cycle of birth and death. It is the place where both good and evil manifests and where beings must exercise patience and endurance. Endurance being the flip side of the coin, dukkha, which is really to be endured, right? Because all life is suffering. Why is all life suffering? Because life, as we know it, as non-enlightened, is the tolerance of our samsaric minds, our desires. Earthly desires are enlightenment. Nichiren knew this and was flipping it on its head to help teach the people of the modern world, which starts with him, the ideal that we could use our earthly desires, our earthly reality, our mundane world, the trichiliocosm, the Saha world, as our launching mechanism for our invocation of Buddhahood. Thus, the mandala, the butsudan, our stupa, our personal stupa, yes? All right. Let me get back to where we were. Tathagata field potential as manifested in the physical or saha realms within the sentient mind, or even more specifically, the qualities of the ninth consciousness. The Tathagata field, like all other quantum fields, has the specific potentials of its natures, like the electron field, the quark fields, boson fields, Higgs field, and so on. The Tathagata field nature is described in texts like the Nidana or the 12-linked causal chain. A fundamental field, the Tathagata field, is a field of potential for observation and appreciation of the engine of life. This makes sense because if you can have an engine of life, the only reason an engine of life would express itself would be to be experienced. Who is the experiencer? Or what is the experiencer? Whatever, whoever, however it is, it will instantiate, experience, express the potential of observation and appreciation. Do you see how fundamental the Tathagata field is? And if you go back to study the Nidana, like Evola did, that book that I've referenced several times, where he really dissects the early Pali texts on the 12-linked causal chain. And I have videos about it. You can look them up on this channel. It's exactly what he's talking about in those first few steps of the Nibbana, this whole idea of how to put language to this formative energies, the attraction quotient, the fit, the amalgamation, right? The actions of energy producing yet more actions. The way these fields interact. In that, the Tathagata field is the experience of observation and appreciation. There is no matter field, but there is a field of types of combinations of energies. What if energy were mutated or more conditioned thusly? They would make a negatively charged particle. Particle? We call it a bag, a sack, a container of, a state of, a state this small, a package of energy like this, right? An electron. All right. The engine of life, by the way, describes the expression of the Tathagata field as it instantiates its potential through formations and amalgams of form, karma, into the physical realms, the Saha world, the Trikliyocosm. As instantiations of observation, quote unquote, the Buddha state is clear and pure or unencumbered in its view and understanding of all cosmic processes and minds. As instantiation of appreciation, the Buddha state of Tathagata is conditioned and singular in its appreciation of karma, or life, and sentience, that ability to observe and appreciate. Buddha is a Saha expression of Tathagata potential that you and I can experience with our minds. Therefore, Buddhahood is 100% compassion through understanding and love of all life. Love being an expression of compassion, observation, and appreciation. So as Buddhists, this is, when we talk about love, the ultimate goal. But this definition of love, yes? Not the definition of your incredible desire to procreate. Not that they're not related, but hopefully by now you understand the difference, yes? But the power of that is what I want you to maintain, understand. That same power is how we should experience Buddhahood in order to bring others, embrace others into this Buddhist compassion, this love. So this brings me to interconnected love. It's a very logical build here. The enlightened experience of Buddhahood requiring no individuation. In other words, once awakening becomes the default mindset, the illusion of separateness, the samsaric craving for other selves, to complete you, the illusion, no longer holds. Once you understand that we're not separate, then the idea that love is some sort of combined state, it's already what we are. Once enlightened to all consciousnesses equally experiencing the cosmos, the game of pretending that one is a subset of features or skills to be compared to others has no basis in reality. We're all, in fact, doing the same thing at once, right now. Welcome. It becomes totally transparent. There is the recognition of the game being entertaining, and all those people in the grips of that entertainment cling to it as more real than the truth. People striving to get somewhere they already are. And that makes the enlightened person someone that cannot be possessed or be attracted at the prospect of being possessed or completed. The game of samsaric identity building becomes moot, because you already are all things, all potential in this moment, along with everything else. You've heard me speak several times in different contexts about enlightenment. You can go look at those videos if you like. Enlightenment being a state of so massive, so grand, so words describing the immensity of the experience of enlightenment, because it's inclusive of the entire cosmos. Not the entire cosmos as all of the things and laptops and people and haircuts and planets, but the entire cosmos as all of potential expressed, moment to moment to moment. This momentum of observation and appreciation. This truth becomes a source of deep compassion for the awakened mind, as all these locked into the samsaric illusion maintain their distance from the awakened person who seems to need no one. Sorry. Wow, I should have hyphenated that. Who need no one. That looks weird with two O's like that. I need a hyphen in that. That looks bizarre. And collectively suffer emotional pains of their own making. Why do we have emotional pains? Because we perceive ourselves as separate things. I am not that tree. I am not that rock. I am not you. You are not her. He is not him. But the truth of the matter is we are all experiencing being together. Your experience of being is the same as my experience of being. Perhaps we put different labels on things. Perhaps I have experiences in samsara that you have not, but they're all ultimately experiences that we are either capable of having or understand in some other way. We're all the momentum of these energies. The differences are moment to moment. They're illusions. The differences are illusions. Because everything we experience is experienced from the same source into the same source. We're simply observing Tathagata and appreciating Tathagata, the process as it's occurring. You, me, everything. There's really no difference. And for those of you who are saying, yes, but Sifu, you just said that I might be experiencing something that you're not, and you're maybe experiencing something that I'm not. Isn't that incomplete? Isn't that how we complete ourselves? Well, again, I refer to Nichiren. Earthly desires are enlightenment. This is why we like gatherings. This is why you and I are communicating right now. This is our samsaric drive. But the more we exercise this samsaric drive with the goal of enlightenment in time, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, we discover that the differences are not real. We can talk about them, that doesn't make them real. We can think about them, that doesn't make them real. What's real is that we're communicating, we're seeing each other, we're observing and appreciating life as it's occurring. The engine of life, karma, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. This is real. Now it's real, now it's real, now it's real. What happened moments ago, it's not real. It's not here. It's not now. Other than the imprint, our samsaric mind is trying to hang on to it, cling to it, cling to it. That activity is a waste of energy. It's gone. Take that activity, that energy, put it into the now. What you're experiencing now and now and now and now. That quickly, right? Remember, I almost said Avogadro, Max Planck and his minimist unit of measure of time. Still a minimist unit of time, a fraction of, an impossible fraction of, a second, which itself is an impossible numeric invention of samsara because we try to cling to time. It's our biggest disease. All right, stay with me. We're almost at romantic love. But to complete this portion on interconnection, as all those locked into samsaric illusion maintain their distance from the awakened person who seems to need no one, and collectively suffer emotional pains of their own making, right? Why do we suffer emotional pain? Clinging and craving. We let go of clinging and craving, and there's no emotional pain. Excuse me. The awakened person simply shares the truth of interseparatedness, shares the truth of inseparatedness without any need of the cravings or clinging of those who seek to complete their illusions of incompleteness from other people. So that was a mouthful of words. but saying what I was just describing. The idea that somehow my experience isn't complete because it doesn't contain your experience, or that her experience or her being is so different, so unique from my own, that in just being with her, I feel more complete. Well, yeah, as being in the moment, see, that's the trick that's happening with love or lust or deep, deep, deep desire, is the illusion that coming together with our object of desire creates something more. But that's the illusion. The truth is that that's the constant state anyway. That you right now watching this video of me speaking to you makes a connection between us. And that connection is a connection that always exists, not just in these moments. But as you go throughout your day, as I go throughout my day, you are all with me. You and you and you and her and them and they and all the pronouns you want to use. We are all together hurtling through momentum, karma, experiencing the Dharma, the experience of the engine of life. And we all have the potential. We need simply to instantiate it, to awaken to it. The ninth consciousness, hello, Tathagata, that we can observe and appreciate the whole thing, the cosmos itself, in every single moment, all at once, all the time. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hi, Jewel. I don't know if you guys remember my, a while back, I got a new little puppy, and her name is Jewel, and she's here watching all this, and she wants to express her love, too. Here she is. She's growing a lot bigger, huh? Yeah, she's a pretty girl. Mm-hmm. Okay, love, love, love. I'm going to put you down now. Up. She doesn't know to look at the camera. She's not a attention hog. Okay. So where was I? The awakened person simply shares the truth of inseparatedness without the need of the cravings or clinging of those who seek to complete their illusions of incompleteness from other people. The interconnectedness of all people and life itself is the field experienced by the awakened mind. And so the desire for all people to know this awakening becomes the driving force for the awakened person to stay in the Saha world, to coax, lead, train, and share the methods of enlightenment for all people and sentient minds. What does that describe? Buddhahood, yeah? The dichotomy could not be more stark from the samsaric experience of the Saha world, constructed of myriad pieces of identity in search of a complete and unknowable self, compared to a Tathagata field instantiation of total clarity and cosmic embrace of unity and love. Interconnected love can be understood as another way of understanding the Tathagata field. And this brings us to romantic love. Collective sigh. After all of these terms, romantic love is pretty simple to cover. It doesn't take very long. If you really even partially understand the previous expressions, understandings of love, romantic love is the intoxicating delusion that our deepest cravings are reciprocated in an object outside of mind or outside of our minds. But you see the delusion already, right? This separatedness, that somehow the deepest cravings that we have, which are all procreation, extension of the species, keeping humanity going, are reciprocated in an object outside our mind. That's the primary illusion. Because we already are married as karmic instantiations of humans moving through time. That doesn't mean we don't need to have sex in order to procreate. We can just sit and meld our minds and spawn children. No. That whole activity is samsaric. It's of the Saha world. And there are in it many, and this is why there are so many examples in Buddhism using that physical process, because it is such a driving force in our samsaric human beingness to describe how the mind works. Remember, always Buddhism is about the mind. The intoxicating delusion. What's intoxicating mean? The mind is being shifted, taken over by this delusion that somehow our completeness comes from being with other, and that accidentally this spawns more us. Right? Guys, you don't look at a beautiful girl and think, I can make children with that. Right? I mean, it may be part of your thinking, I don't know. But that's not the primary driver, is it? It's about possession. It's about ownership. It's about experiencing from outside of it physically the world, the cosmos. And whatever samsaric mind needs to be satiated for that to occur, we project onto another person. We experience this lustful love. What we call romantic love is actually possession. We say, my boyfriend, my lover. We created a need, capital letters, that can only be fulfilled by some other. An awakened person knows completeness. The universal truth of all people playing the game of samsara while knowing the self as an integration of the cosmos, having no needs to crave or possessions to cling to. The awakened person is offering one's self completely. And yet, those who continue to seek completeness in others, craving, hunger for possession, validation, etc., people seeking this love is of no interest or use for the enlightened person. Now, I could go on and expand the romantic love and talk about, again, earthly desires, our samsaric delusions of, and our lust, right? But you should understand by now that romantic love is a construct of our samsaric human organism. And it's fine. But don't misunderstand it as love in its larger sense, love in its Buddhist sense. This romantic love is very provisional. It doesn't really last long. It's a state of intoxication. And I'm not saying it has no value. What I'm saying is understand its value. Its value for the continuation of the Saha world. But as Buddhists, we know that the Saha world is simply the expression of potential. It's going to happen. It's happening. And all the importance of living is happening moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. Because if we start dissecting romantic love and procreation, we're talking about things that we either crave or cling to. That is the life that Shakyamuni was saying is dukkha, is suffering, because it's based on clinging and craving. Right? Ask any woman who's felt the need to have a child, to have a child. She understands craving and clinging. We all do. I'm not just trying to saddle you women up with it, but I think you have a much more clear, visceral idea of it. And yet you'd have a difficult time describing it, wouldn't you? Especially to a male. Anyway. Have I left anything out? Use those comments. That comment section is open for you to let me know everything that I missed. Yeah, but you don't understand love. You don't understand. Anyway. This is as gently as I could put it. And admittedly, though I think of myself as, well, I don't know that I think of myself as gentle exactly, but I suppose I feel as though having as much information as possible is the best way to learn anything, because the learning comes from you yourself. I'm just opening doors and windows, yeah? But in all truth, this is my experience and knowledge over almost 70 years of understanding this amorphous term called love. Buddhism has taught me a tremendous amount about what love really is. And this is why I prefer the word compassion, because compassion isn't a word that we're really using a tremendous amount, or how shall I say it, exposing ourselves to its meaning in various ways. It comes up in certain special conditions or events or situations, but Love, we throw it around like it's baseball, yeah? But compassion is a little more mysterious to understand. And yet, hopefully, with everything, all the blah, blah, blah I've given you in 2 videos now, you can start to understand compassion as a really a broader and more, at the same time, more specific understanding of what real love is. Not just this temporary, inspirational flush of adrenaline and I'm going to have something, right? How samsaric is that? Driven by desire. But then so is the whole cosmos. The very fact that you and I exist in this momentum is an outcome of desire. Look at the Nidana. It might be subtle about the attractions and amalgamations and so on and so forth, but they're all different words for reaching out, wanting to be, wanting to instantiate, wanting to have, hold. Okay. I'm going to wait for your questions and statements in the comments, and that's how we'll continue to talk about this thing we call love or compassion. And at this moment, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your being here. And being here to me means you're practicing. You're curious about practice. You want to practice more. You want enlightenment. Namo Myo Renge Kyo. Earthly desires are enlightenment. Thank you, Nichiren. Namo Myo Renge Kyo. Thank you for your support. Patrons on Patreon. Those of you straight to PayPal. You got stuff in your hair. It's so pretty. I thank Jewel for being here. It's my pretty girl. Yes, you are. Take care of your health. Savor your practice. I'll see you in the next one. And we're going to get back to the Mahaparinirvana Sutra. With that, bye for now.